Hello and welcome everybody to Art School Live. My name is Mandy Tice. I am subbing for our dear friend Eric, who is away on one of his art adventures today. And today we have the one, the only, Barbara Tapp. Barbara, welcome to the show today.
Hi, Mandy.
So glad to have you here. What are we going to learn with you today?
Well, at the moment, I'm experimenting with a limited palette inspired by 𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗃. And basically, it's I'm actually going to be taking this out into the field, but this is a good opportunity in the studio to experiment.
Wonderful. I can't wait to work with you today, and let's get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
You may have noticed that I am not, in fact, Eric Rhodes. My name is Mandy Tice, and I am your guest host today. And today we have the lovely Barbara Tapp joining us, and she's going to be sharing some new watercolor ideas that she's been experimenting with. Barbara, take it away.
Hi, Mandy. Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, this is what I'm doing at the moment. I am taking a limited palette out of, I have ochre or Naples yellow, pyrrole orange, quin pink, and cobalt. And these are the colors that I'm going to experiment with right now today. One of the things I suggest, if anyone's going to be doing this, is that they do a test patch here and establish down the bottom of it their darkest dark. So I didn't show that. I just sort of started to do some of these working towards my darkest dark. But you want to know how far you can go from your values, from your lightest value to your darkest dark. This is also another one here, which is using Naples, yellow ochre, transparent red, sap green, and cobalt. And this one I've already experimented in the field, and it gave me some extraordinary effects. I'm just going to put that down and show you one of the paintings that I did, which is using that limited palette. And then this is a beginning of one. But anyway, so here's my palette. I've got my cobalt, my quin pink, my pyrrole, but I changed that to a Naples because I wanted a lighter color. And you have the reference in front of you?
We'll put it up right now.
Okay. So one of the questions that I wanted to sort of put to the audience today, I'm actually going to sketch while I talk, is, do you ever feel stuck or bored with your paint colors?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Well, I just know that I have my palette here, and my palette is pretty much, I change it around. I actually put a cover on. I have to quickly show you that. But every now and then I decide that I want a different color. Well, this experiment with just the 3-color or the 4-color limited palette is forcing me to create better or more interesting mixtures than I usually do with so many choices like I have here. I rely on them, and I'm realizing that I can learn actually a lot more about color just working with these 4 colors or any different 4 colors, as long as I've got 3 warms and 1 cool, although that's a warmish cool, but a blue that changes everything around. But my question is that I did get bored, and I have got bored. So anyway, I'm here basically to share with you the path of exploration that I'm doing.
Is it possible, Barbara, to just tilt your camera up a little bit more? We're not quite seeing the top of your drawing yet.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So hold on 2 seconds. Oh, you know what? I'll just bring that down.
Oh, perfect.
Does that work?
That's perfect. We can see now.
Oops, sorry. Okay. So I'm just putting in a quick sketch here. So a lot of the time I go to events or I watch Art School Live, and I get ideas. It's sort of a moment to gather things, gather other thoughts rather than sticking in your same old path. And attending PACE certainly gave me a lot of new ideas. And then watching the watercolorists, whom a number of them are working with limited palettes. And I thought, oh, you know, I got to try this, because I use that other palette that's got 16 colors in it. And that then I had 𝗨𝗶𝗺𝗶𝗴 came back to my house after the convention and gave a workshop. And while I didn't actually attend the workshop, I worked on this limited palette over on the side while the other people were working on their workshop. Anyway, so this is the gist of my question. Is usually I always have an intent. And what fascinated me in this was there are shadows. If you can see the reference, I don't know if you can actually see the reference, but there are shadows cast on the buildings. So I had a lot of lost edges, found edges, hard edges, and I thought this is a good one to experiment with what I'm doing. I don't need to show any of that detail. I like to, Mandy, I love to draw through my paintings. Ooh. So I like the watercolor can dry, and rather than you putting down all your information in a very detailed drawing, if you just put the basic forms in, it allows you to come in and then do a much more experimental, loose background.
Oh, well, that goes right into a question we're getting in the chat, because Vicky from El Paso is asking, does a limited palette force you to loosen up, do you think?
Absolutely. Honey bunny, that's exactly it.
You hear that, Vicky, honey bunny? It will help us loosen up, and that's what we're after today.
Oh yeah. So I am just wetting the top here, and again, loosey goosey. Don't. This is allowing me, this process, to be much looser than I normally am. Coming from the architectural background that I've got, I tend to draw straight lines and then paint in between those. But this is actually blasting me into a whole other area. So I'm going to bring my palette. Can you see my palette?
Yes, we can see it.
I think it's really important that you see what I'm doing.
All right, so you wet your area first, and now you're adding some more pigment into it?
Exactly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit from top to bottom. I've got a slight tilt on my page, and I want areas here to flow into each other. So I want gravity to be part of this whole storyline. I also know that I've got areas here that I want. I know that this is going to be a darkish form in here, but I want this to come through as a warm. Everything's very free. It's not, I don't feel as though I'm sort of tied into anything. I'm going to throw in a little bit more of that sort of bluey purple. It'll do its own magic on the page.
I love seeing your thought process. I would not have thought to lay down kind of an orangey red in such a dark area, to lay down that color first and then build, into your darks that way.
Well, here I'm just putting in, these are going to be dark areas, right? So I know that I can put in, and because I've got the potential to make these delicious purples, I'm thinking, well, that can be my dark. It doesn't have to be, it could be a blue shadow if I want to put it in. I also want to preserve, I see a really lovely pink. You can see how you want to mix the colors so that they start to mix on the palette as well, because you can just dip into sort of like the edge of something and bring it into the painting.
Well, Barbara and I were talking before the show a little bit, and we were talking, I was talking about how like tight and obsessive I am in my studio, and Barbara was talking about how she's going out and she's trying these new things, and I'm seeing this palette right now, and from my background, I'm having a heart attack, but I'm seeing how beautiful you can get these colors when you're not so tight, when you relax enough to experiment.
Yes, and the thing is that because, Mandy, you can change the colors around. So my limited palette might be, let me think, if I took an ochre, which is a warm, if I took a even a cad red maybe, a Van Dyke brown and a blue. All those combinations are going to give me something completely different. I'm going to be able to go from in this, with these colors that I've chosen, all the way to almost a brown, which I can use. But so anyway, it's as loose as anything. I want people, if they're going to experiment doing this after watching, be extremely experimental in and courageous in what you're thinking about. Okay, I know that there's a dark there. I know that there's a dark there. This is just an indication of where the darks are going to be and where the lights are. I can lift this. I'm just going to move.
There's a lot of love for you in the chat. In fact, Carolyn's saying that she even set her alarm just to see you today. So,
well, hello, Carolyn. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm lifting that area because I want that to be almost my lightest area. So I've got to work out what I want to put in here. And I'm thinking, because I'm thinking through the painting. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, I actually want to reflect the blue sky. So I am intentionally starting to manipulate some of the coloring.
There's an interesting question in the chat for you, Barbara. Hollis is asking, and I'm sorry, Hollis, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Are you finished using the yellow?
No, not at all.
So how do you manage your palette when you've used up a lot of your yellow?
Oh, I just added some more.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm going to do some splattering on this so that I've got some interesting coloring things happening, spots that will, because the water is, the paper is very impregnated and wet, things are going to smudge. And I'm thinking to myself, ooh, okay, that's actually got the potential of doing one of the shadows on this while it's wet. So my brain is responding to the effects that are happening as I'm watching this. This is part of the excitement about doing this, the working on wet onto wet. So I can actually isolate this by putting, so this morning you are with me as I'm experimenting, right? That's the whole idea of this. This isn't something that I've done exactly before, but remember, the shadows are a very important part of this. So I'm going to now mix up a purple. This is so much fun.
So what kind of paper are you working on today, Barbara?
This is a 𝗨𝗃𝗃, 140 weight.
Okay, 140 white 𝗨𝗃𝗃.
Yeah, so I can't show it to you, but it's a 140 pound 𝗨𝗃𝗃 block. So again, at this stage, you can do things like the lady was mentioning, I don't know, Carol, was it? Mentioning about, I want to actually put a bit of the warm yellow into this section, which is going to be trees eventually. Look at this. Can you see? I'll bring it closer to you.
Oh, that's such a beautiful effect.
These are very pleasant colorings to work with. So
so is it ever hard for you to cover up some as you build your layers when you have a really beautiful moment like that?
Well, it's part of the pastiche. It's part of the background. It's part of what is going to be either preserved. I don't know, because if I knew it, I'd be back into one of those controlling, drafting moments.
Yeah. And we're trying to escape that today.
I am.
Don't let me bully you into being tight because of my own eroticism.
No, I won't. But I'm saying to myself also that there's a light passage that I want to do. So you can just take your brush, and I'm drying it off, and I'm forcing a light passage to come in here.
Wonderful. And that actually leads into another question, because Diana is asking you how you're going to manage your whites. Do you use white paint? Do you rely on lifting? Like how are you going to get
No, I never use white paint. I only, whatever I've preserved works, whatever I have. No, I mean, the thing is that this section in here, I'm allowing this to dry. I'm not working so much anymore on it. I'm allowing this to dry in here. And if you look at this area here relative to this, you can see it's lighter. Now, I know that that's going to be turned into a dark roof or a shadow in here. So I know I don't need to cover that with paint.
Can you pull your board down just a little bit for us, Barbara? A little bit more? Just like another inch? Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, tell me, because I'm not looking at the camera.
No, you have important things to do. It's my job to make sure that we can all see. And thank you to those of you in the chat helping me keep everything in view. So there's a question JP has about traveling with watercolor tubes. JP is saying that there have been tubes thrown in the garbage by TSA. Do you have any advice for traveling with watercolors?
I'm what's the word? I put it in a plastic bag. I carry it as though it's medicine. And if anyone has a question about it, I bring old tubes. I don't bring new tubes. So then I'm not as upset when I lose them if I do, but I've never had anything taken. So
I have heard from the Gamblin people before that not to call it paint, because paint has some regulations, to call it artist colors. If you're asked about it, have you heard anything like that, or you just never had a problem?
No, but that makes a lot of sense. It really does. So now I'm going to the stage where I'm starting to now add, while the paper is still wet, this is all background.
It looks like we might have, oh, she's coming back. Maybe. I think we lost you just briefly. Can you say that again, Barbara?
Oh, I'm just saying that I'm now starting to darken some of the areas around. While the paper is still wet, there's magic happening. As in, can you see the magic that's happening?
And can you put down a little lower? Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've got it now. I think I have it. Now, so Mandy, one of the things that also is so exciting about this is, as the areas are drying, you know that you can then come in with a filbert, which I hear you love a filbert.
I am a big fan of the filbert.
Okay, so you can come in with a filbert or a flat, and you can start to carve out your edges. But because the paper is still wet, it's not going to end up really super, super dark. So I'm going to go in here and I have to boost up my areas, my paint areas. A little bit of this. And I'm now getting to the point where I don't even care if the colors are all running into each other. Another delicious thing about this is that because most of the pigments are diluted or being diluted, I have the potential of really, really great darks when I go to just full pigment at the end of the painting. So that's an added dark that you will have at the end of your painting, that you can use, because again, this is working from lights. Remember, I'm the person who loves shadows. Those shadows are still there to remind me that I'm going to be doing some of my darkest areas in those areas right there. So I'm still sticking to doing my darkest first, which really helps establish drama. And I get bored in painting. So now this one's a little further away, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it. Yeah, I get bored when I'm doing my painting. So I'm loving all of this because it's all these soft, loose edges, all these colors that are mixing on the paper as well as mixing on the palette. I mean, it's a wild ride.
You're a pure anarchist, and I'm here for it.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so here on this side, I'm going to actually put in a pretty clean edge. And then I'm going to use lots of water.
Is there a secret for getting a clean edge when you're working wet into wet?
Just having a fairly steady hand. I use things like, I use the edge of the tape, which is there as a straight line to guide me. No, it's being deliberate. You know, I'm pressing down because I don't care about because the drying process in this is part of the painting, I don't have to be particular. All the particular comes at the end of the painting. Now I can see here, oh, I just can't tell you how this still is so much fun.
I can tell you're having just a delightful time. We have a question in the chat about how you manage windows.
Oh, windows are a piece of cake.
Excellent. I can't wait to learn how to make them piece of cake.
A window, well, I'll put some windows in a minute, but windows are half-sided. Can you see?
Half-sided?
Yeah, meaning, so there's a window. Can you see that? What I just...
Yes. Yep, we can see that.
Okay, so that's a window. Let me see. This area is dry enough. I can do it. Here. Probably the wrong brush. Yeah, it is. You should go down and brush size when you start to do something that's fine. It's good if people ask me questions, because I'm not going to do a finished work, but what you do is a window is suggested by sunlight coming in. So I mean, it's cute. This actually looks like a bit of a face. But here's the other thing about watercolors. Watercolors are incredibly forgiving. You know, there were our ancestors, our watercolor ancestors, who spread the rumor that it isn't forgiving, but it really is. In the process of this whole painting, I don't care if I've done something as dramatic, or there isn't a mistake, because the pigments of today and the paper of today, we can lift. And I can say to myself, oh my goodness, that is too strong as I get towards the end. And I can actually just lift it off. So watercolor is just, it's just, I mean, oil people can't do this.
That's true. I'm really jealous right now. Like, just, you know, how you can lift it and have the lift be part of your final painting. You know, in oil, you can scrape things off, but then you really need to repaint them, you know?
Yeah. So let's say if you're doing even windows like that, you can allow this to dry and then just run a bit of wash of this, take clean water down over those areas that are those little dots, which are window panes. And then it creates a shadow that goes over the whole window itself. Look, I could do a whole lesson on windows.
Oh, well, we're going to book you for that next time.
but I'm not. So anyway, again, I'm going back and I'm just looking at really lovely, loosey sort of shape. Look, see, here's another tone, and look at the contrast. See, we have this happens in watercolor with the water diluting the pigment, the transparency, so that we have enormous range and values that we can play with. And because we don't have to be as precise in our color matching, look, Matthew Bird and all the people who do the realist work are incredible, because they really know how to mix carefully their colors and their paints in the field. Remember, I'm a plein air painter. I am not a still life indoor painter. So I am much more spontaneous. I just am reacting to being outdoors. So I don't have to be precise. But I mean, watercolor is just, the range is just outrageous.
Well, as a relatively new plein air painter myself, you know, it astonishes me how much change there is from minute to minute when you're painting outside. And I really see how this approach and openness that you have to following, you know, the whims of your painting can be really beneficial, you know, as a plein air painter. Yeah,
no, it's true. You might lose my brain for a minute while I am thinking about what I'm doing here. Again, coming into the fact that I do get bored in paintings, I like playing with the darks and the lights, working against each other, for and against each other. Again, the more you paint with watercolor, the more you'll realize that it requires a lot of patience as the chemicals, the paint reacts to the paper and the water. And there's a lot of avenues and a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities for things to happen. Look at that in there, splitting, as you paint along. And I'm not even doing things like taking a spray bottle and wetting this and allowing the pigment to separate again on another level. I'm just I'm trying to do as many little things here to show the audience what sort of capabilities are there and the things that I'm exploring. I mean, this is exploration. And what am I asking in my head? I'm saying to myself, okay, what about some of these negative shapes? Keep them, Barbara. Don't kill them. Bring some of that blue into the painting here. My head is talking to me as I'm going through and exploring this. I love the hazy softness in here. So even in the photograph, if the photograph says to me, oh no, it's much cleaner and no, react to the painting as it's happening and let those things develop and explore them. Don't follow the photograph. Respond to what's happening to the watercolor on the paper. Okay, let's be a little, how much time have I got?
We have about 20 minutes, and we have a question in the chat about, do you do a no-tan or a value study before you start your painting?
Yeah, hold on. I mean, sometimes this will take, a diversion. Here is my sketch that I did to learn the scene, and then there are my notes. I'm written down afternoon light background. So there's my background being light. Understand my choices and my values. What colors can I make from the limited palette?
I love that you write yourself these notes, like not just that you have your value notes, but you have your emotional notes about what you're trying to achieve.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. So being in the mode of, yes, I get bored with the process, I am going to throw in a window in here. Now, the thing about here in this part of this, there's some trees that are going into here. And so I know that I don't care about, I'm not going to make them so dark that they're finished. I'm just going to give myself this stimulating pattern that's bounces off to my eyes and then makes me see where the next step is. And the next step is that I want to put in here. I'm controlling a little bit more now the colors. So I just want to put structure.
And I have noticed that you're following through on what you said earlier, where if you're working a smaller area to work a brush that's smaller.
Yes, I chose a brush that's smaller. Okay, so I'm also just changing slightly. Look at how delicious the palette's becoming. So I got basically two paintings going at once.
Do you ever take an impression of your palette, with a spare piece of paper just to save a beautiful palette idea?
Oh, I don't, but that's a cool idea. No, I take photos. All right, so I don't want to lose. Actually, there's that really great shadow in here. Let's slap that in. So now I'm actually kind of looking at the painting. This is the time when, your positives and your negatives, and I'm not that good at putting things into words, but I kind of know what I'm doing.
Well, you're doing a great job kind of helping us get some insight into your thought process here, and we're really enjoying it. And in fact, Karen's saying that exploration is a mindset rather than pressure to get a product, and to just enjoy the process. That's what she's taking away.
Oh, ain't that the truth? Oh my goodness, that's so true. Yeah. Well, I don't do anything that doesn't excite me. I mean, I collect insects and I'm always looking at the ground because I always love looking to see if I can find things, and whether it's rocks or whether I don't bring them home necessarily, but it's sort of an adventure that I have that I really enjoy.
I went on a mushroom hunt with a friend the other day, and I feel like I had never seen the ground before, just seeing it through someone's eyes that spends a lot of time looking at the ground.
I feel as though I look at the ground too much. So, sometimes I should look up. So it's very interesting. Sometimes when I take my afternoon walks, I will look at the sky and say to myself, come on, Barbara, you're always looking at the ground, but look at the sky. All right, let's be a little radical again.
You radical? Never.
Yeah, a little radical in this. Well, the radical is to tell me, who's quite a conservative person, to get out of my comfort zone.
Carl is asking about glazes in watercolor that maybe some artists tend to do, like maybe you're like a warm or a cool glaze. Is that something that's a part of your practice?
Oh my goodness, yes. And that is the brilliance of when you do a painting out in the field, and sometimes you reacted to everything that was there, and you come home. And honestly, I don't paint that much at home. I don't change my paintings from the outdoors, but sometimes I'll come in and I'll say, oh, what is wrong with this? Why is this not harmonizing? And the one thing about this limited palette is it harmonizes. But if you put sometimes a warm wash over, let's say you've done a whole lot of foresty trees and everything like that, and it just is divided, and you've got cool greens here and bright yellows there, you might take the yellow and you run a lovely glaze of yellow that ties the whole painting together. Oh,
I want to try it just because of how you're describing it. Cheryl in the chat, sorry, I sometimes have a speech impediment. In the chat, Cheryl is telling us that she met us both, Barbara, and enjoyed meeting us at Pace in Lake Tahoe, and that she's a proud owner of your demo painting of the dairy farm.
Oh, Cheryl, you need to send me a note because I don't remember your name.
Chamberlain.
No, please. I just went and grabbed a bit of Van Dyke Brown. Oh, naughty me. Back to my blue.
Yes, because we're using that limited palette today. For those of you joining us a little late today, we are focused on a limited palette, unity and experimentation. Always learning and growing, and integrating new things into our practices.
Okay, so what's the timing now?
You have about 10 minutes.
Okay, so here we're at this stage, right? Look at my palette. It's becoming deliciously gorgeous little spots. Brilliance of watercolor is every single one of these areas is potential paint that can go in small bits on your painting. Oh, it's very exciting. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that painting and I'm going to put this piece of paper over the top of it, and I'm going to flip this around. And this is where I took the painting to last night, just so that I could take you that far, having shown you what I'd done already. Now you can see I worked with a lot cooler colors here than what I had down there. But what I want to show you is that this is now dried. So you could walk away from the painting that we just had and come in with a pencil, because I love to draw through my paintings, put down my washes, basic shapes, and then come in and do more detail and more detail. And so what I wanted to show you, because I've still got a few other things, is removing the color.
Oh, so is that just pure water that you're using?
Yes, it's just pure water. But what I love about it is that it's going to pick up the pigment that's underneath, and that can be played to your advantage, having the pigment. So you don't dry it. Don't come in and use a paper towel for when I want to use that color that's underneath. So I've got a couple of trees here, remember?
Oh yes.
You can also go to your painting if you want to and borrow a bit of color.
Everybody's saying ooh as soon as you showed us the one that you had worked on last night, because it's so nice to be able to see a painting taken further than we can normally do without waiting for a drawing process, especially in watercolor. So
well, I love coming to Art School Live, so I'm only doing the things that I myself think about when I'm watching, and I go, oh, I just wish I could see what the effect of that would look like. So even look at that. That's just paint, clear water, and I've picked up that gorgeous little bit of tone of color that's there to do for my trees. So even that, oh my goodness, I have to move that closer to you so that you can sort of see.
Beautiful.
you know, yum, yum, yum. And there's a piece of structure. I'm also seeing here that I've got sort of like fence posts. Now, this is sort of putting your calligraphy in, right? This is when you can sort of toughen up and make sharp edges come through from your softs. You don't have to fill them all in. I can see here. Oh, see, now I start to feel like I'm an adventurer.
Yes.
I'm not painting anymore. I'm exploring, and I'm just putting down things that I want to see. I'm responding to the architecture. See that nice, that really nice sea.
Gorgeous, yes. Make sure to follow our dear friend Barbara Tapp on Instagram. You can do so at Barbara_Tapp_. And if you look at the screen there, her Instagram handle, you can copy it there.
All right. So, okay. So you can see the gist of that. Now I want to show you a couple of other things. All right. So here's one with just a 2-color. So it's pyrrole orange and sap green. So that also, here's lifting. That's getting to the darker, fuller pigment, and in there is the darker, fuller pigment. This would go a long way further, but that's only 2-color. Here we have using ochre, using Naples yellow, Van Dyke brown, and cobalt blue. So that is actually what this scene is, just done 2. So that's a 3-color, and I think I ended up adding a red oxide.
I love seeing how you're experimenting with all these things, because it's the same scene like you're saying, but you really took 2 completely different explorations of the same thing.
So here's one done in the street. This is a plein air one. This is where I was in Kenosha just recently, and I wanted to experiment with this limited palette. And so this was the painting I just did of a street that was in being closed. It was a closure one. But you can see also that here is getting to the darkest darks, which you don't use that in the first part of this whole process, because you're using a lot of wet into wet. And potentially at the end, this is actually using the full pigment in this area here. So the range of values is extraordinary. Let me see. One more.
And I love seeing your windows in that one too, and really seeing how you're thinking about the windows, about the one that you just described to us in your main demo, and then seeing that applied here. It's really fun.
Yeah. And again, these are all experiments. So here's another one that's in construction, and this is a whole lot of eucalyptus leaves. So I think it's a good example of how I did a very interesting background. I let that dry, and then I started to draw all the leaves in.
Beautiful.
And so here's the drawing, and this drawing's happening after this is dried. So it's a slower process, but truthfully, for me at the moment, this is opening a tremendous door of exploration that I can go. Well, this was done in the field. These are all done in the field. But, I have just been too bound by my palette and a prisoner to my palette. And suddenly, from the last few inputs that I've had, I've broken out into a whole new area of exploration. So it's very
so exciting. I love it. I think a lot about how I do a lot of teaching and teaching online, and teaching mostly oil painting, but I'm not really teaching students how to paint a portrait or how to paint a flower. I'm really teaching them how to teach themselves what they want to learn, right? And I see that with what you're doing, like you are just endlessly expanding, the possibilities for yourself with this watercolor, and it's such a joy to see and hear from you.
Well, thank you. I've said along the way, to a lot of people, is that come with me, because I'm this style today, and tomorrow I'll be something different. And an artist came recently to my house and said to me, Barbara, it's hard to peg who you are. And I said, yeah, I know, I've got multi-personalities. But I also said,
and we love all of them, darling.
Well, Thank you. But the thing was that I wasn't able to be a fine artist because I needed to work commercially. And I did that up until, 13 years ago. And I'm making up for lost time. It's sort of like 1 year, Barbara, you're going to explore here. I do like to paint series. So topics that are the same topic, that really helps me explore something to death. But that's why I'm in motion.
Yeah, you truly are an adventurer, adventure of the mind and brush.
Well, yes, with no great full understanding of where it's going to lead me, or my job is not to produce beautiful paintings. It's actually to enjoy the journey of creating a painting. And if it's got results, I'm learning as I go. So here, look, I just did that, and it's so repetitious. And I know, oh, well, you've got to box yourself out of that one, or you've got to escape yourself out of that one. And so I'll start to become more inventive, knowing that the way that I was applying the brushstroke then didn't work. So lesson learned.
There's a lot of love in the chat right now for your fearlessness and your willingness, to experiment. I feel like sometimes we find something that works, and that feeling is greater than the risk of trying something different. And you're so brave.
I don't think it's brave. I think it's naivety and curiosity.
Look at your work and accuse you of being a naive painter, Barbara.
Look, honestly, looking at this and saying to myself, wow, Barbara, you paint architectural work and it's very precise, and it's that I'm so excited about the fact that I've painted something that's got my eye jumping all over the place. And it's sort of like an energy that I'm not really used to. But I also am excited about the potential of where I know that this can go.
Well, I just love seeing the enthusiasm in your painting and the energy that excites you translating into your painting. It's so much fun to watch you paint.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure we're at our end, but
yes, we have just a minute or two. So we'll let you get your last marks down. And I have so much to share with our audience today, because if you enjoyed this demo as much as I did, you definitely want to get more of Barbara Tapp. And she luckily has a video out on PaintTube TV. So Barbara's video is the Barbara Tapp watercolor method on painttube.tv. Should definitely check it out. Make sure to follow her on Instagram at Barbara_Tapp_. And of course, visit her website at barbaraTappArtist.com. All right, Barbara, last mark. Here we go.
Last mark will be, well, you know what? I'm just so pleased with I know. Don't go. It's got to be, there's some really great shadows that are cast that'll play off that straight edge there and that light and that dark. And I'm thrilled with what happened there.
Gorgeous. We're thrilled too. Thank you so much, Barbara. It's a delight working with you today and really getting to understand your painting process. Thank you.
Love to everybody out there. I'm glad I can share with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay. So for those of you who are here today, we have a free gift for you. Download this free ebook, 10 Simple Tips to Master the Use of Watercolor. Go to americanwatercolor.net/ebook. And if you haven't signed up for Gouache Live, it is time to do so. Main tickets start at just $47. On August 23rd, 2025, an incredible lineup of instructors will teach you about gouache painting, and you don't want to miss it. It's all the rage these days, so get in. Sign up at gouachelive.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live or on YouTube. At Art School Live on YouTube and at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. And again, my name is Mandy Tice. You can follow my YouTube channel at School of Atelier Arts, and you can learn more about what I do at schoolofatelierarts.com. Also, make sure to follow me at Mandy Fine Artist on Instagram. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. It's delightful working with you as always, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.